Good? Cool. I'm Kyle Harrison, and this is AXIA Time. My first earliest memory is I was 3 years old. My dad gave me a stick, and in my dad's office, there's a life-size picture of him playing at Morgan State, wearing an 18 jersey running, and I just remember wanting to do that. So it wasn't until I got to Hopkins that I was a full-time lacrosse player, and I started to believe that I had the opportunity to do this at a high level for a long time. Everything. I did a professional career for 17 years. I can remember being drafted to the New Jersey Pride back in 2005, walking up on that stage, shaking the commissioner's hand, holding up the jersey, and then blink, and I'm walking off the field in Utah for the last time, waving to the crowd. Like that flew by. So AXIA Time, I feel like, you know, my first exposure to the brand and meeting John is really at lacrosse events. You know, we've had this opportunity where, whether that's to Wharton or the USA Lacrosse Gala, like there's been a bunch of events over the last few years that we've run into each other. And I'm a fan of the brand. I've always been a fan of watches. I did notice that Axia continued to show up at all these different lacrosse functions, and then I got to meet John and hear his story. Like, one, I love the story of the brand, but I love his personal story within the sport of lacrosse. And for those that don't know, the most famous lacrosse play of all time is the air gate, right? So when Gary Gate jumped over the goal and dunked it right from behind the goal. What you don't know is that John, the founder of AXIA Time, was the goalie for Penn in that play. So the most famous picture of all time, John's actually in it. He's just the other guy. But he tells that story so well. And I remember when we were talking and he told me that story, I couldn't stop laughing because he has such a sense of pride in it. And then if you look at the like the recent pictures, there's Gary Gate and John together, like talking through that moment, that play. I've met John obviously multiple times before we got to this point, but I think as I got to understand his story, and as a fellow entrepreneur and someone that's like bootstrapped and a grinder and work, and I love the process of working, and so I gravitate to people that are the same. And John is a worker, like he's a grinder. He has put his heart and soul into building this business. And when you hear the story of how he's done it firsthand from him, like you can't help but want to be a part of it. All of my memories, all my favorite memories involve teammates, because that's why we play team sports. Running around after winning the national championship in the link in Philadelphia with my team. Team USA running out in that field, hearing the national anthem, wearing a jersey with USA across your chest. You know, I think about MLL days, the Ohio Machine, when I came back to the MLL from LXM, played on the Ohio Machine. They had never been to the playoffs before. And so we had this like 4-year climb of like getting that team to the playoffs, then winning a semifinal game, then getting the championship and losing, and then ultimately in 2017, the 4th year of building that team, winning and running out in the field with that team and celebrating. And the guys that weren't on that team anymore that put in the work 3 years prior, like we play team sports for those moments, whether win or lose. Obviously you want to win championships, that's a point of playing competitive sports, but ultimately you want to build relationships, you want to learn lessons, and that's what being a team is, and those are the things I miss. When I think about AXIA Time and think about the brand, I think about my teammates and memorable things that happen in your life, right? Let's just stay sports specific at the moment. Like when you think about winning a championship, when you think about graduating, you think about being a senior, moving on, all these milestones you're gonna hit throughout your career. Like typically you get a ring, sometimes you get a plaque, 2 things that you really aren't going to use much. The plaque is going to go in a closet somewhere, most likely. And then the ring, you'll display it in your office one day. Maybe it's just in a trophy case, or maybe it's in a safe in your house, right? But a watch to commemorate that moment and bring those memories back, like you'll wear that. I wear this watch. It's not just here because I'm in this video. I'm wearing it because it means something to me. And so for me, when it comes to AXIA Time and the opportunity and ability to have a milestone happen and then commemorate it, and something that you'll remember forever, and it takes you right back. I mean, ultimately, and I know I sound like an old man here, but the older you get, you have memories, right? You have memories and moments that just like stick with you. And the ability to look down and immediately be taken back there, depending on no matter what's going on in your life, where you are in the world, you're flying, you're working, you're having coffee, whatever, and you just glance down for a second, it takes you right back. I love everything about it. So commemorating the most important moments in your life through something that you'll actually wear and use is the reason I was drawn to it immediately.